Alright, I'm fading in the audio.
I'm going to attempt to read the chat as well as the questions. If my fucking
Alright,
phone will load.
go ahead.
Yes, I can see the chat. Whoosh.
Well,
You ready?
Stream's up.
Okay. What's going on, guys? Sky here, and this is the Plagues of the Roundtable. It's a podcast devoted to a lot of shit. Today it's devoted mainly to Fallout 4 New Vegas, the mod in development by our guest. And this is my co-host, V.
Hello, how's everyone doing?
And this is the project lead of Fallout 4 New Vegas, Meta.
One of the project heads.
Hey.
One of the project leads, I'm sorry.
Hey, how's it going?
Fucking horrible. I'm nervous, I'm stressed.
Stop being nervous. There's only 40 people.
There's a lot more stuff. But I'm also extremely excited, and without nerves, that shows you're invested in
Anywho.
what you're doing.
Meta, could you do me a favor, and for anyone who isn't aware of the project you are leading, can you give them a brief description on what it is you and your team are trying to accomplish?
Fallout 4 New Vegas is a remake of Fallout New Vegas within the Fallout 4 creation engine. It's based around recreating the world space. All of the quests, all of the content in the base game is to make its way over, in one form or another, into Fallout 4 New Vegas.
Interesting.
So, today our plan was to both live stream, allow those that are watching to watch and ask questions directly towards you, and to ask some questions that have been both gathered up by Sky and myself, and by those who have asked us directly to ask you. So, we'll go ahead and start with one of the first questions. Are you going to require both Fallout 4 and Fallout New Vegas in order to play your mod?
Yes, you're going to require both a legal copy of Fallout New Vegas with all of the DLC, as well as a legal copy of Fallout 4 with all of the DLC. That's kind of necessary, not just because of the permissions we need from Bethesda to work with their properties and their intellectual content. However, we also need to pull the audio from New Vegas itself so we can use it in-game in Fallout 4.
Okay.
The next one, at least this is from my perspective, it's kind of a joke one from B. You remember that armor in Big Mountain? The white armor? Stealth armor? Really annoying armor?
Yeah, the AI armor.
Yeah.
Oh,
You all keeping that? Do you have any plans for the DLC?
Well, the DLC isn't something that we're specifically focusing on right at the moment. We want to knock out the entire game first, because, a lot of the stuff in the DLC is based around content found in the base game. So once we've done that, we may move on to working on the DLC.
Okay.
so let's talk about some of the core features of the game. What features from Fallout 4 are you keeping in replacement of the features in Fallout New Vegas, i.e. things like power armor and any sort of assets that might have been different between the two games?
Well, stuff like... We actually really like the death claws in Fallout 4. They're very animated, they're very aggressive, and they're a little more difficult to fight. They're not just a charging beast that you put down with a few poorly aimed shots. Other stuff we're working with is the power armor system, because it feels more like powered armor.
Someone in this chat just said my voice is kind of low.
Yeah, I'm working on that for you, buddy.
Sorry for interrupting.
No worries. The other big thing we're kind of focusing on is bringing in stuff like using assets that exist in the game in the world space. We're generally modifying them because a lot of them feel very much like Boston, not Nevada. But we feel that as a base, they really help us to create a world space without dumping a ton of development time into recreating each and every minute little asset.
Okay, and since we're on that topic, one of the things that we've discussed before the stream was you guys tend to get a lot of questions around things like what are you adding content versus just recreating it? So, did you want to go over your guys' philosophy on how you design the games around like adding more content or just recreating it in general?
Sure. Fallout 4 New Vegas isn't a remaster of Fallout New Vegas. New Vegas is a new game. It only came out a few years back, and it's a very solid game. If we were just aiming to do a remaster, we'd really just be doing a high-resolution texture pack, and plenty of those already exist for New Vegas. So we'd be competing with stuff that's already out there, and probably wouldn't be doing a better job than them ultimately. So instead, we're sort of focusing on just making our own experience that's true to the original. So where it's appropriate, we will be adding our own content, be it little things like vending machines that you can actually put money into, or smaller, or I mean rather bigger things, like making the survival system from Fallout 4 work in conjunction with the hardcore mode of New Vegas to create a bigger and more interesting survival experience for players who want to play in a more hardcore manner.
Okay. One of the questions someone in Twitch chat just asked was, are you guys going to be using the original soundtrack, or are you going to be making all of the sounds from scratch?
Before you answer that, I think we need to make a distinction between remaster and remake.
Not right now.
Because that is... What your mod is a remake, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So the short form is that a remaster focuses on taking the base content and essentially working with it to create something that's based on the original without it being just the original, whereas a remaster just focuses on being more or less a one-to-one recreation, but it with graphical enhancements or tiny tweaks just to modernize the look or sound of it.
Okay. So one of the questions as well is, it looks like, are you going to be allowing the settlement system from Fallout 4 and Fallout New Vegas?
Well, yes and no. The system used in Home Plate for the player's home, we're going to be implementing that in the player homes you can get in Fallout 4 New Vegas, so the player can customize their homes. However, we will not be using the settlement system out in the exterior world space, and really that ties into the sort of core narrative concepts that work with the player character. The courier isn't the kind of person who sits down and sets up a village. He's a courier, he wanders, he drifts. Exactly. So it'd be kind of at odds with how the game plays for the player to be going around and building settlements. We also don't really have the resources to add new voiceovers and such, or create brand new NPCs, so making it fit with the world in a way that makes sense isn't really within our scope. It's too much work for something that doesn't really fit very well.
Gotcha. So we have two questions from chat right now. We have, is there going to be survival and hardcore mode?
We're going to be rolling survival and hardcore into one game mode.
Okay.
But it will be there.
And is there any sort of information on that right now, or are you guys still going through it and trying to iron out all the details?
It's a work in progress right now. There's not really a lot I can say about it until we really know what we're doing. Not to mention that a lot of that comes down to balance, and at this early stage, we cannot really speak authoritatively on how we're going to balance things.
Okay. And another question was, is the New Vegas Strip going to be more populated with NPCs?
Definitely. Stuff like that won't kill your system, we can likely do. It's, like, one of the big things that crippled the original New Vegas was consoles. In fact, before the lead up to launch, New Vegas had stuff like, the Strip was one open contiguous space, same with Freeside. That there, ended up being changed because the PlayStation 3 couldn't actually handle it. So, while I can't speak...
Still couldn't handle it, even when it got released.
Yeah, it didn't run the best, but, we're aiming to, work with that to do what we can. I can't speak in specifics right now because we're still really far off from it, but, it's something we're investigating at the very least.
Okay. So the next question then is, are you guys going to be implementing more firearms and weapons into the game itself, other than the base weaponry that it already has?
We are. Alongside the original, I guess you could say, returning cast of weapons, we're also going to be adding some new stuff. Now, our focus isn't on creating the new stuff. That's not really something we have the resources to devote to. However, we will be working on adding tiny stuff like, say, we have a Martini Henry rifle that was given to us. And it is just absolutely gorgeous, and we think it'll really lend to opening up different gameplay roles that the player can sort of fit that rifle into.
Yeah.
Especially since the Martini Henry can be sleeved to take different calibers.
So I have the assault carbine right here that you guys have been working on right now. So that's some of the weapons we can expect to see, some of the details and the designs you guys are trying to put out right now.
Yeah, that there is the assault carbine by one of our 3D leads. That's by Deadpool. You've probably seen some of his other work. He did that excellent Watts laser rifle. He also he's done the 9mm that we're going to be using, and that's his work on that.
Okay.
It's going to be using a modular system. Go ahead.
Someone asked me if the script will be opened up a la Freeside Open.
I can't really speak specifically to that right now. It's something we're going to have to investigate to find the best possible solution. Because, like, right now, we're nowhere near the strip, so it'd be a bit premature for me to say what we are or aren't doing.
Okay. And so, as well, along with the assault carbine, we have the marksman carbine, which looks to be an addition to the game and the base game itself.
The marksman carbine's actually in base Fallout New Vegas as well.
Oh, it is? Okay, my apologies.
It's harder to find.
It also has a unique variant called All American.
Oh, that's right. Now
will be there.
Looking at this, we have the scopes. Are you guys using the same crafting system, all of Fallout 4, which allows you to upgrade and modify your weapons at any point?
We are. In fact, if you want to go over to the other rifle variant, the service rifle, you may notice that they're all very, very similar looking. And that's because they're already going to be using Fallout 4's weapon mod system. In fact, the plan is basically a player could upgrade a service rifle with an automatic receiver, so that way they can fire it like, say, the assault carbine. That's not to say we're not going to have just assault carbines in the world, but they're, like, in the real world, the AR platform is very interchangeable. So, we're working with that to create a realistic, interchangeable, customizable platform for all the player weapons.
Okay. And are you guys currently going to be working on any sort of ammo variations outside of the ones in the base game?
Different ammo types, basically.
Where appropriate, we will be. It's a little early for me to really say what we're going to be doing with ammunitions. We're toying with a few weapons. I mean, something like the Martini Henry, it fires a massive big bore cartridge.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of thing that we're going to probably have to add, so that way it doesn't just, feel like a weirdly chambered weapon. Like in the older Fallout, you had stuff like the P90 firing 10mm rounds.
Yeah. So one of the questions just asked by chat was, are you going to be using the New Vegas companion wheel system?
We haven't really done. Oh, go ahead.
Eldorado just asked, will I need Fallout 4 to play this? And we covered that at the very beginning. Yes, you will need a legal copy of Fallout 4 as well as a legal copy of Fallout New Vegas.
To answer the other question, we haven't even started work on companions yet.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of far off from where we are in the world space.
Okay.
However, down the line, we'd certainly look into it, because I know a lot of people were very fond of being able to just quickly knock out what they wanted their companion to do. Whereas I know other people are a big fan of the Skyrim style, hey, go there, do this system. So we'll have to toy with it and see what we prefer.
Okay. So, then, I guess, what type of mechanics are you guys looking into integrating into the system for Fallout New Vegas, all the things that may not have been there before? Like, I had asked you personally, is there going to be a colorblind settings for those that are colorblind?
Basically, we're pretty open to giving things at least a cursory investigation. One of our big focuses as a team is staying focused on just what we're working on at any given time. And so we sort of like to pace our investigations into things. Something like colorblind mode, for example, that's something that we will definitely take a look at and, give a fair shake at investigating, whilst other stuff like, trying to think of a good example. Like, a good example is the vending machine system we showcased.
Yeah.
Where the player is now able to actually feed money into the vending machine or pick the lock on it.
Yeah. And you're going to keep, sorry. So the feeding system, one thing we had talked about as well was like custom animations. One of the things you guys tend to get a lot of information on is extras that are usually like requested into the game that you guys just can't accommodate. What are some things that like you've been getting a lot of requests for that you haven't had the opportunity to like address that you can or can't add, and the reasons like why?
Well, there's simple stuff like, hey, can you port stuff from Mod X or Mod Y from New Vegas? Because it's in a totally different engine and we're not the people that made it, it's kind of difficult for us to port it over. Not to mention that the time needed to focus on that could be better spent on building the rest of the game around so that other people can add that later.
Yeah.
There's other stuff like vehicles, which we aren't adding. It's just way too much to add to the game, and it's the kind of thing that feels like a mod when we're not really aiming to feel like a mod. We're trying to develop what is realistically a new game.
Gotcha.
Without the excessive
Add-ons.
fuck, never mind.
1 second. So let's look at what other questions that we've had submitted to us. Are you going to rebalance the casinos at all? Make it to where they're not as easy to exploit?
Something like the casinos, they're far off, so I can't speak in any specifics. However, economic balancing is a very important part of New Vegas. I mean, like, for example, one of the first sort of gates is getting money or finding a way past the Securitrons so you can get into the Strip.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing where we're going to have to be careful about tweaking it, but I think we are going to be giving it some attention to make sure it's not just super exploitable.
So we have two questions for the chat. One is from Primus, who's asking, will there be any Legion-friendly companions besides Rawl or Lily? So are you going to be adding any companions to the game, or any thoughts or plans for that?
We will not be adding any companions. The amount of voice acting and the amount of just custom work needed to get them in-game and working properly is just way outside our scope. It's like Arcade Ganon, for example. I seem to recall that he has something in the range of 500 non-genericized lines of dialogue, and that comes out to something like 60 minutes of actual dialogue once you're done with it. Okay. And then you need to break that up, hook all the scripts into it, and get him working as a character. And that's effort we could be spending elsewhere to get, original characters from the game working. The other important thing to keep in mind is the more we add to the game, the more we have to adjust the game world to respond to the existence of the things you've added. And so it sort of creates a really serious domino effect where suddenly we're spending days just so, this one-off NPC we've added makes sense in the game world.
Okay, so we have two questions from the chat as well. Are you going to use the assets and meshes out of Fallout 4's Capital Wasteland project? And I think as well, another question is, are you going to be expanding on the Legion camps?
Well, to answer your first question, we do have a working relationship with the Capital Wasteland project. We're in contact with them, and we talk with each other to collaborate on things where we can. To answer the second question, we have no specific plans for the Legion camp right now. However, we've discussed maybe minor things like making it feel larger. We can't really go in adding a ton of new NPCs, and for a game world like New Vegas's, that's so reactive and feels so alive, without those sort of extra NPCs, things really start to feel dry and dead.
Okay. And we have a really good question from the chat. But I'll let AJ say what he has to say first.
For starters, if I'm being a little bit quiet, it's because I'm trying to let everyone else talk.
Yeah.
And the question is, how much of the world space has been covered so far? Created so far, I'm sorry.
I couldn't even give you a percentage. It's
So it's that small, huh?
No. Or is it that you guys aren't... What are the focuses you guys are covering right now in terms of the mod? Is it just art... I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Like, are you focusing on art assets, level designs, or is like what's the top priority?
Well, it's important to keep in mind that our team is made up of people who all have different specializations, so each team can have their own independent focus with different focuses spread out among different team members. However, at the same time, really our goal right now is getting a very high level of polish on the areas in and around Good Springs itself. That's not to say we're not making exploratory moves out in other areas to sort of start working on the world space, but we have no real sort of specific percentile on how much of that's been covered. I mean, I can give you I'd probably be crazy saying it, but 70% of the world space has been touched by a human hand, but that doesn't mean much.
Okay.
That might be something as simple as, oh hey, I, lowered a little bit of a hill over here once.
Why do I get the feeling that El Dorado is one of you all?
Oh, Lel, yeah, Lel's one of us.
Lel Eldorado is wondering, will there be a beta? Because he is an avid gamer and he sure would like to help you out.
I don't know, Lel, why don't you check the development repository and you tell me?
And y'all know who it is wondering if they can be a playtester.
I don't know, y'all. Can you, buddy? Can you?
Also, when is the tech demo and pre-release?
3 weeks from never, I think, is the current projected release date. A serious answer to that question is, realistically, we don't have a projected release date for any tech demos. Tech demos are resource intensive to put together because we have to go through them and bug test them so they're totally playable.
Oh, I'm dead.
And also disconnect all of the content in the game that's not being used in the demo so as to ensure it's stable and it isn't bloated so you're not downloading 15 gigs of nothing.
Gotcha.
Good point.
Go
How
ahead.
many people are working on the project?
We have a core team of about 30, but when you include all the various contributors we've seen, it's closer to 100, but that's... Contributors are more casual members of the team, they're doing what they can when they have the free time, because again, this is a volunteer project, whereas the core team members will often spend... Some of them don't sleep, this is my only answer, they just don't sleep at all.
The Siphon's question.
I'm sorry, we might have missed someone's question.
I'm scrolling up to find
the Siphon's question.
Will custom mods be allowed, and will players be able to work with the files and world in the creation kit to add, fix, or tweak things here and there?
Yes.
That's a very short answer for a very long question.
Not really.
Yep.
So another question is a personal one. What about what are your guys' plans with things like the Pimp Boy 3 billion and other assets like that?
I actually had a question. Someone asked me that and wanted me to ask it.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the list.
Well, the Pimp Boy, it's a very, very cool thing that we definitely want in the mod. Right now, our focus is on using the Fallout 4 Pimp Boy model. So if we do the Pimp Boy, it will likely be I think it's a 4,000, I think is a model in 4, I don't recall. But it will be seeing likely a Pimp Boy variant.
And I was fixing to ask your question. I'm just going to call you Folga. Question about the Nightkin in Fallout New Vegas. Will you be using the Super Mutant Redux mod from the Nexus? I think they're too accurate. They don't break the don't break the lore with the strips in the mouth of New Vegas' super mutants. Damn.
Well, basically the way we're looking at them right now, we're fairly far out. We're starting some exploratory looks at super mutants. We will be integrating Nightkin as they were seen in Fallout New Vegas. However, we haven't really had any contact with the people working on the Super Mutant Redux mod. That's possibly something we can explore in the future. However, for the moment, everything we're doing is internal.
Fair answer. What about level cap?
There will be a level cap.
What will that level cap be?
It'll be the stock level cap of 20, I believe it was in the stock game, or was it 30?
I believe it was 30, because each of the DLCs had 5.
Correct, it was 30. It was 30, and it kicks you. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't do numbers.
So, it's going to be 30 or 50?
It'll be 30 until we get the DLC worked on.
Okay.
And that's a big if right now, because right now the core game is our primary concern.
And here's another question we have from Primus is, will Lily be able to have outfits equipable to her?
That's actually something we've not really discussed much. Again, companions haven't seen a lot of love yet, because they're just not really in the areas we're working on. But I think that's something that's worth exploring at the very least.
Okay, the next question is something that me and V actually noticed immediately in the Good Springs trailer, and that is repaired is missing from the caravan shotgun. Will you all be doing the repair system?
We will. We will be doing the repair system. The reason it wasn't in the demo was just simply because we hadn't finished making it yet. It's a work in progress.
Okay. Explain the perk system overhaul, because I don't know how else to say it other than you tweaked the system in the Good Springs trailer to where you can search for different perks, and you went back to New Vegas' skill system instead of the perk system from Fallout 4.
Well, the system you're looking up at there isn't actually... You're looking at two separate systems at work there.
Oh,
the UI you're looking at, the search system, is Level Up Menu EX, and that was made by Nyanka with support from the Fallout Cascadia team, as well as with our team's support as well. So all of the top-level menu stuff and that cool search function, all that fun stuff, was all by him. However, the perks and skill systems were made in-house.
That's amazing, actually.
So the next question is, will there be gun jamming? And if I could add to that, like with the service rifle, you have the forward assist on the right-hand side. Will you be using a standard just cycling of the rounds, or use weapon-specific things where like they use the forward assist?
Well, I can't really speak in specifics. Right now we're exploring how a reload and jam system might work together. I will say, though, that New Vegas is well known for having very authentic weapon jam clear animations, so I'm pretty sure that our animators, being as skilled as they are, would likely do a proper clearing procedure on something like the service rifle, especially since it's actually done that way in New Vegas.
Okay. That's a very good answer. Very good answer. I need a drink.
Well then go grab a drink. I'll
What
continue.
about the character created?
What about it?
Are you gonna?
You be keeping it from Fallout 4, or will you be designing an entire new one?
We'll be using the system that came stock with Fallout 4. We feel it offers a lot of versatility in character creation. It has its flaws, but it's better at not creating terrifying monsters than the one in New Vegas was. It's also good at for making them.
Was like amazing. That's like the best part of Fallout New Vegas, minus like the rest of the entire game. This New Vegas is like just perfect. like you all don't realize how fine of a line you all are walking next to the edge.
So, we had two. We have a question, and in the form of, will there be power armor jetpack support? And we can also talk about some of the level design work that has been going on in your team.
Well, we will not be carrying over power armor jetpacks. They're a new addition that don't really make a lot of sense to any of us. Now that said, we really are fond of the verticality that Fallout 4 added to the environments, especially with the better combat in the game. It just feels much, much better, and allows the player some strategic choice in where they want to move within a combat environment. So when we're working on different locations, we're definitely going to be playing with the better support for verticality. Yes, Space-Time Bender, we love the level designers.
So one thing you had mentioned is there's a size difference between the world scaling of Fallout New Vegas versus Fallout 4.
Yes.
What is that going? How is that impacting the way the cycle is going for you guys?
The short version is that when we recreated the world space from Fallout New Vegas, we basically had to go and create a new height map because we can't rip the one from the original game. So, we basically had to make a new one, and we ended up with a 1-to-1 cell recreation, and cells are the sort of grid squares used to map out the world space in the Gamebryo and Creation Engine. Now, we are 1-to-1, which means each square is basically equal to every other square in the game. The thing is, the squares in the Creation Engine are bigger. So the world space for Fallout 4 New Vegas has consequently ended up about a quarter larger overall than the one in Fallout New Vegas.
One of the questions was, how much more of a horrific abomination do you guys plan on making Quarry Junction? And since we're also
that laugh, I want to be like I want that laugh to be played at my funeral. That laugh is amazing.
And we can also talk about fun, like, community content that you guys are possibly keeping in. Like, a great example is Two Bears High-Fiving.
Which, by the way, won that poll I ran.
I cannot confirm or deny whether or not we are going to potentially do something where we, add that as an option, because, God, that's what most people see now.
Fucking buddy.
Let's see what other fun questions we have. One of the questions is, are you guys adding physics to the games, like trench coat physics or anything else that might add a little bit more flair or pizzazz to the game?
Well, Fallout New Vegas didn't really have support for it, but Fallout 4 supports cloth physics. So that's definitely something that we're going to be toying with. I can't make any specific promises right now because it's all very much a work in progress, but it's definitely something we're going to at least play with and see if we can't use it to give players and NPCs a more believable appearance.
Okay. One of the people on the Twitch would like to know a little bit more about the system you guys are developing for the bows and anything, like any sort of unique variants on like bows that you may be working with. Are you going to just stick with the standard longbow, or are you going to have compound bows, recurve, other different designs and types?
I can't really say a lot specific about bows right now. I can say that we're going to likely be implementing ammunition types, so that way the player can use, say, an explosive arrow to deal some serious damage to an enemy who perhaps has a lower damage threshold rating. I can say that we're going to be assigning it to the survival skill, as opposed to, say, the gun's skill, or really anything else that wouldn't really make sense for it. One of our goals is to make the survival skill more valuable to players, because realistically, survival's a dump stat in the base game. It can do a few good things for a player character, however, it has a lot of issues, so most players tend to overlook or intentionally ignore it.
Yeah.
I always used it.
I just had the question. I lost it. What are the plans for like rechargeable weapons? Are you guys going to be implementing things like the musket rifle from Fallout 4 into the game, or are you just going to leave that as Fallout 4's own weapon?
Well, the recharger rifle is something that we're definitely adding. It's in the base game, so of course we're going to bring it over. That's being worked on right now by one of our 3D artists, actually. As for the recharge, what do they even call it in Fallout 4? I guess, is it laser musket?
Yes.
Yeah. We have no specific plans for it, but I don't think we'd be 100% opposed to the laser musket being in the game.
Another question asked by chat is, are you going to add
adding any new weathers? The dust storms?
Yep. We're working on a weather system. Our level design lead, Spacetime Bender, has done some incredible work with the weathers in the game. So it's just, man, we're actually really excited to do some cool showcases of that, because it makes the Mojave feel a lot more alive.
So one of the questions were, because you had covered a little bit earlier, like you can't add NPCs because of just the demand for dialogue and required in order to make an NPC. One of the questions was, we're assuming you're going to continue to use the original voice acting from the game, correct?
Correct. We're going to be using an installer, which means basically when you download Fallout 4 New Vegas 16 years from now, when we finally finish it, you're going to get an installer with it.
We have a release date.
Yeah, there it is, everyone. 16 years from now, it'll be ready for you.
There it is. It's going to happen shortly before Kingdom Hearts 3 ever gets a release.
Jeez. Don't give us too much free time to work on it. Anyway, the plan is basically there's going to be an installer. So what you'll have to do is download and install Fallout New Vegas. Once you have Fallout New Vegas installed, it'll be able to the installer will be able to extract the audio files from New Vegas, and then install them in Fallout 4's install directory, so then Fallout 4 New Vegas can access it.
I didn't understand a fucking word of that.
That's fine. So since we were talking, somebody had mentioned Windows, and I can translate this. Is this mod going to be Mac compatible?
I believe is Fallout 4 Mac compatible?
I don't know. I don't have a filthy Mac.
I don't use a Macintosh computer, so I would not be able to tell you.
One of your friends, I think, says no.
Well, okay, I believe them then. So, nope, no Mac release, sorry.
But I'm not certain whether or not they're talking about what we're talking about. But now I'm not certain whether or not Fallout 4 is Mac compatible.
Glass windows.
Yes, y'all, there's going to be windows in the game.
Really?
Can we see through them? Do they give us insight on what's going on the other side?
They might.
Gasp.
We actually asked you this a couple of days ago, and it was regarding the Thorn and that quest. Specifically, how else to put this but make a sound effect?
Okay. No, they're not going to add sexual stuff to the game, AJ.
No, dear God, no. I meant, that was the question you fucking asked.
There's a website called Lover's Lab, and I think that'll handle all that.
That'll handle all your needs.
That's not really what we're working on.
I meant the quest. God damn it.
We can't expect midget prostitutes.
I cannot confirm or deny at this point in time.
I mean...
Can you confirm or deny whether or not the giant gecko is going to be in the game? Can we fight the giant gecko?
Oh, Gojira?
Yes.
We have no specific plans for it. Like, Gojira was added to the game by an Obsidian developer, who apparently just really loved watching a giant fire-breathing gecko wipe out Camp McCarran.
I can't say I blame him.
No, it's actually really impressive. But,
so, one of the questions from a gentleman named, who y'all know who it is wondering if there's going to be Fisto duplicates, and are there going to be any modifications to Fisto?
Well, we are going to be using some of the automatron systems. because they very, very much allow us to make enemy variants very, very readily. So we can do some unique, Mr. Gutsy variants out there, or we can do Fallout 2 styled sentry bots, which really excites me. However, we will not be using the modification workbench from Automatron. It doesn't really fit with New Vegas, and we can't really find a good way to get it in the game without having to, again, that sort of domino effect of, well, here, we need a quest to explain it, we need NPCs, we need dialogue, it piles up.
There's actually a question in the chat I have actually been wondering, and I don't think I've asked you this yet. If there's collaboration with the Capital Wasteland project, is this going to be a Tale of Three Wastelands type of deal? If so, will weapons and armors be available throughout the 3 games? I don't know how it's getting 3.
Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and Fallout 4.
Oh, okay.
We have no plans for a Tale of 2 or Tale of 3 Wastelands type thing.
It's awesome, though.
Yeah, and I mean, if another mod team wants to come along post-release, we would do everything we can to support that, but it's just not really within our scope.
I heard the team enjoys referencing the book Two Naughty Boys in the development chat. Can you confirm this rumor?
I cannot confirm or deny this rumor at this time, although I can confirm that rumor.
Leak the chat log! Leak the chat log!
So one of the images that, or one of the questions I have is, what are your guys' designs in regards to, like, collectibles? Are you going to be using the skill book system of Fallout New Vegas, or are you going to use the collectible style of Fallout 4?
Given the collectible system in Fallout 4 feels a lot more rewarding, we're going to generally be working with that for the books that give perks or hard bonuses to skills.
Oh my god! I just saw the question and I didn't.
No. To OP Tursk, no, they've confirmed the release date is in 32 years. And I guess here's another question: if there is some young inspiring or somebody who's trying to, like, get into the development cycle or try and help you guys out, what are some of the ways they can reach out to you in order to possibly assist you guys in terms of...
This boat question has already been answered as far as I know. Did we not talk about bows a second ago?
Yeah. I mean, they don't have much about going on with the bows. It's still just early and they have nothing.
We're going to have a feature on them in the future, but we have no specific comments I can give right now on them.
Speaking of bows, wasn't there a crossbow in Fallout 4's concept art?
I actually think you're right. I think I recall that, maybe?
Yeah, because yeah, pretty sure that's right. Pretty sure.
So how would somebody who's trying to possibly help the team out and, like, design projects or anything going on with that, how would they be able to help you out or reach you guys in order to give you help and annoy you?
Well, we're specifically looking for team members who have technical skills. We need 3D asset artists. We need people who know how to specifically code in Papyrus, the specialized language that the creation engine uses, and we need level designers. So if you have that skill set, what we generally like is people to get in contact with us via, it can be Facebook. We have a Facebook page. We have a contact email, which is just contact@f4nv.com. Or if you want to get in contact with us over at our development Discord, or our community Discord, and just get in contact with the team there, we would then talk to you and set up some questions about requirements. Things like, can you send us a portfolio, and just discuss your experience and sort of what your interests are in the area of development.
So what is your stance on boats?
I should mention that every link you want people to have, I will put in the description of the video when it goes live on YouTube.
I'll send those to you then. Well, boats, you see, boats are evil. Boats are the devil's work and should not be trusted.
I'm confused.
Go on. Can you explain why? I'm not a part of the boat train. I don't understand what's going on, but I'm sure enjoying it.
Boating boat face.
Oh, this is just a dumb internal joke that is getting out of hand. It's normal, don't worry. There you go, y'all. That's the reaction we needed.
Burn the boats.
We intend to drain Lake Mead to burn all the boats.
You're not going to add boats?
In all seriousness, the boats for Lake Mead are going to be there. And one of our team members, Kilo, he's a big fan of boats. And he is going to definitely be our man for Lake Mead and its various watercraft.
I don't remember if it was only a Fallout 3 thing, but I know in one of the Fallouts, the earlier ones, you couldn't attack while underwater, like Mirelurkers couldn't attack underwater. Is that something you guys are going to work on fixing so that way they can actually be a threat underwater at all?
It's something worth looking into.
To add to that Mirelurk question, I seem to recall there were a couple of Mirelurk kings in New Vegas, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Are you keeping them bipedal, or are you using Fallout 4's design?
That's something we're going to have to look into. Especially since the New Vegas design looked kind of garbage.
Yeah, they look like literal fish people.
And so, since we're talking about that as well, for like say the Nightkin and the Night Stalker specifically, what type of AI are you guys going to associate with that? Are you going to stick with the New Vegas design where they're trash, or are you going to possibly use one of the AIs from 4?
We are likely to be using the Fallout 4 AI packages for them. The New Vegas ones, they're basically just dog-shaped missiles. They run at you and attack. So we're going to be doing something like, say, the wolves from Far Harbor, which are more of a pack predator.
Bahaba?
Bahaba.
How long have we been streaming for? It seems like it's been about an hour, I think.
Hour and 2 minutes, but that's including the 15-minute timer.
Oh. Fuck, does that mean I'm gonna have to edit that fucking timer out
Yep.
and not upload it?
Yeah.
God damn it.
I'm a horrible person. Let's see, what other questions do we have? What are you guys going to be working on in regards to the reputation system? Are you going to keep it the same as New Vegas, or are you planning on tweaking it at all, or making any sort of adjustment? Also, we have the question, why Lisa, why?
We're going to be using the reputation system from New Vegas, rebuilt. You might have seen a tiny glimpse of it in the last video we put out. Now our plans with that are to potentially play with it to make it feel a bit more reasonable alongside the karma system. I can't speak in specifics right now because, again, this is locational and it's going to take tweaking and time. But, for example, one of the things we've been tossing around is making karma somewhat dependent on your relationship with a faction.
Explain that. Elaborate, please.
Well, for instance, say you are bitter, evil enemies with the Powder Gangers, and you walk into their camp, you massacre every last one of them, and then you open up a bag and steal some fancy lad snack cakes, and now you are literally the devil.
That's a good point.
So you're going to adjust things kind of like how in Fallout 3 you'd get good karma for just killing ghouls. You're going to make it so where the system isn't, for lack of better terms, completely broken.
It's not even completely broken, that's a word. Completely broken.
I believe in you. English is good.
It just doesn't... It's not used is the real issue. Only one companion really cares about your karma, and that's Cass, and she'll leave you if you have too much negative karma. Aside from that, there's not really much done with it.
I think the only other exception is Boone, where if you're disliked by the NCR too much, that he won't.
That's reputation, though.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I actually have a kind of small favor to ask. I know I have zero chance in hell of this happening, but can you take away that negative karma from Cass, please? I love Cass. Cass is my fucking favorite person in the game. And
Well-
I like playing evil characters.
Well, then you're gonna have to deal with that evil karma there, friendo.
I know. I don't want to.
It's actually really important to keep in mind that Cass's character is the daughter of a Fallout 2 character.
Yeah.
And her father was also a good karma character, so pulling that out sort of undermines one of her, I guess, character pillars. So that's not really something we're going to pull.
That was 100% a joke. I know it's not going to happen. I just wish it would because I like playing evil characters. Really good. Yep.
Oh, great! My friends have shown up in chat.
Oh God.
So another question, this was one as well, is are you gonna get rid of the shaders that the game has, like the red shader for the Legion or the other shaders like the game tends to have? Are you guys gonna keep the system where it has the red sky, or are you gonna work on it and make it look?
We're gutting that. It doesn't make sense, and it tends to just look bad.
And another question is, what in terms of like cut content, like convincing House to allow the Brotherhood to stay alive and not have to kill them, what are you guys doing in regards to like cut content from the game?
Well, our overall philosophy with cut content is that if we can't blow a ton of time implementing it, then it's possibly something we'll look at. For example, a good example is in Freeside. There's a ghoul beggar, that's Rotface, and there was content, it's all in the game, commented out, where there's a quest tree based on you giving them money. And basically, you talk to him after giving him certain amounts, and you can guide him towards sort of different reactions and a sort of character arc, if you will. That's all in New Vegas. It was just commented out so it doesn't work. That's the kind of thing that we can very easily sort of re-implement because we don't need to make new voiceovers. We don't need to do new writing. It's the kind of thing where we can basically just re-implement it on our own time if we feel like it'll fit. On the other hand, go ahead.
Mr. House and the Brotherhood of Steel is another common question I got during this.
Yeah, I'd asked.
That's one we'll have to look into because that's a faction-based relations thing. Basically, with the way New Vegas is set up, with so many faction interactions set up in the game, it's without really having it all laid out so I can look at and so the team can look at what can or can't be done. It's not really easy for me to say if that's something we could do because it might end up breaking interactions down the line somewhere where we just don't have voice acting or writing to fill the gap.
Okay, that makes sense.
And are you guys gonna make the Chinese stealth armor work?
Yeah, we are a fan of that concept.
To elaborate on the stealth armor, there's a mod for Fallout 4 that actually reintroduces a free version of the Chinese stealth armor that has like this massive fucking customizable appearance and functions. I guess what I'm trying to say is, will you be able to customize your armors and stuff like that?
We will have the stock Fallout 4 customization systems for armors and such. It's important to keep in mind that since we're a volunteer team and our assets are somewhat limited compared to a full-size development team, it's somewhat unlikely that we're going to be able to do a bunch of crazy customization on everything. But at the same time, we are going to be allowing players to, where they can, add their own flavor to their gear. We're also going to be using Fallout 4's system for, independent arm, leg, torso armor, which will allow even more room for customization.
So we have two questions. Is there any other source for the devlogs other than Facebook? And what is the status of ECP?
One, we actually have a website, www.f4nv.com. It tends to get devlogs uploaded there less frequently than Facebook, but they do get uploaded. As for Easy Pete, he is there, and he is easy as always. He is not a member of Caesar's Legion, believe it or not, I know. and he will not be the final boss of the game, contrary to popular demand.
You think about it.
Love
Have
that.
you ever seen Caesar and Easy P in the same room together?
There's a mod for that. I will make it happen. So help me.
God, is it? Really?
No, he will make the mod happen.
Like,
If he builds it, they will come.
it's kind of like Bruce Wayne and Batman. You've never seen them in the same room together, have you?
And another gentleman has also asked, what's the status on jiggle physics in the game?
Anime titties.
Yep.
I cannot confirm or deny at this point in time whether or not we will have immersive jiggle physics on every character.
Gotta get out contact with the Dead or Alive team for that one.
We'll get the realistic stand physics from DOA 1 while we're at it.
Oh god, we broke AJ.
Oh no.
I'm just gonna let this one run through its course.
Sorry.
You okay there, friendo?
Yeah.
You sure about that?
No.
No, I'm fair. Okay.
Okay.
Now you just need to
Okay.
add cats. Are you gonna add cats to the Wasteland? All of the cats?
Given that House's belief about cats being extinct is very clearly mentioned, we're going to stick with that, and even though they're there, we're not going to be using them in Fallout 4 New Vegas.
So we can't expect a cat meat add-on?
No.
That's a shame.
My laugh gets everyone. My laugh is the most contagious laugh I've ever fucking seen. Like, I have a video of it on YouTube, and it's like my second most popular video. It's literally just me fucking laughing.
Oh lord. Everyone's talking about jiggle physics. I almost want to go back to Fisto now. Fisto 2.
One of the comments is gecko titties. Gecko titties.
I'm for it.
Gecko titties. No, I am too.
They are made.
Make him
No,
like size
never
E.
mind.
For DLC, would you consider changing the rewards for Lonesome Road, and by extension, this is my question now.
Are you gonna
Dead money?
Yeah, that I guess would lead to that.
I
If you,
would-
when you guys, because DLC is something you guys aren't looking into right now. This is of course, you want to release the base game first. But for like talks that you might have had in regards to things like the DLC, what are your guys' plans for things like making dead money not garbage?
Well, if and when the time comes for us to work on the DLC, our plan is generally to redesign, especially areas in Dead Money, from the ground up, because a lot of them are laid out in parts of it come down to bugs, with things hitting the player's collar from directions they're really not supposed to be able to. But the other big thing is we're going to be going through and redesigning things just so they play somewhat better.
Hey, I found that Helios 1 hallway you were talking about.
Yes.
Since we also talked about level design, you had mentioned that you're reworking the level design of some of the inner buildings, but we also have the question before I ask this. In regards to, I guess, the detail and the design of the elderly in the game, how realistic are you trying to make them look, or are they going to look something a la Fallout 4?
Mama Murphy just looks horrible, by the way.
Because Mama Murphy looks like shit regardless.
I had a mod that actually makes her 20 years old.
No amount of drink cannot make Mama Murphy look like garbage.
Basically, we're going to be examining potential to make old characters look like old characters, because as it is right now, it just doesn't work really well.
And to answer the question, Siphon, which was just answered as well, they're going to introduce settlement functions for certain homes you can buy, but not like full settlements.
Frame to Frame asks, speaking of jiggle physics, How will Fallout 4 New Vegas work with other mods like Armorsmith?
Basically, we have no specific sort of work. We're not working with these guys on their mods. I mean, we're developing our own. So ultimately, it'll be up to either fans of those mods or the modders themselves to create a compatibility patch down the line.
So now here's my question: how compatible will your game be? As somebody who doesn't know anything about mods other than how to download them, how easy is it for someone who's already had a mod created or is creating a mod for it to be compatible with yours?
That's a mod-to-mod thing. If somebody, say, created a texture replacer, it probably works right out of the box, although it might make our game look like garbage. Go ahead.
Oh no, sorry, I almost cut you off. My apologies.
On the other hand, stuff like brand new weapons will not be plugged into all of our other systems, so there's going to be a fair bit of effort on the part of the modder to make it compatible.
And the next question is this going to be more taxing on on someone's system than Fallout 4 or less?
Or the same?
We're aiming for stability and we're aiming for decent frame rate on a computer that meets the recommended settings for Fallout 4. We're not aiming to force you to buy a new computer just to play our mod. We're also taking a serious stab at optimization to make it run well in general. However, it's early on, so it's hard to say, but as it is, things seem to be running well even on fairly low-end systems.
And since I'm also in Helios 1 as well, you had mentioned that there are some designs that your level designer is working on when it comes to certain buildings, such as Helios 1 having a hallway that leads into the ether. What are some other buildings or updates that you are going through in order to possibly make the level seem a little bit more reasonable or something you would expect upon going through it?
Well, one of the big things we're sort of examining is we're trying to make locations feel like real locations. So we'll have grand old chats in the development server about, what makes sense in such a, like what is canon to this location? What should be added or removed from here because it does or doesn't make sense? It might be something as simple as an office building getting some bathrooms that might have some more loot in them, or it might be something you can duck into during a firefight.
Okay.
Whereas other locations, we might pull out collapsed sections that add literally nothing, or we might better telegraph that there's nothing there. On the other hand, other locations, we might want to play that up, because this isn't just a game about, it's not just a man-shooting game. It's a game about scavenging and about looking for loot.
Mm-hmm.
So a certain amount of red herrings do need to be there.
Okay. And one of the questions that was asked as well is, are you going to maintain the system where Yes Man is the only character with the essential tag?
Correct. We're not going to be making characters essential. People can die, people will die.
Murder can be ensued.
Speaking of killable character, what about the cannibal perk, where you go around killing, I think it was Mr. House, King, Caesar, and I always forget the NCR one.
Oh, General...
Kimball.
Yeah.
Kimball and Oliver.
What about that perk? Do I have any ideas?
It'll be there.
Yay! That's a really good perk. I always enjoy killing the 4 big people and eating their corpse. I am dark. I am...
Okay, since we're also talking about that perk, are there any plans to modify or enhance the Wild Wasteland perk?
Wild Wasteland's kind of a contentious thing, because it's really easy for a team of fans to just start going in and just adding tiny little silly things they like. So it's likely we will be adding our own stuff to the game, but we're not going to be adding piles of absurd new content. Wild Wasteland from the stock game will definitely be there, but the rest of the stuff, it's going to be, it's going to be limited. We're aiming for quality, not quantity.
Okay.
To add on to the Wild Wasteland question, I actually got a question while I was throughout this last week about having Doc Mitchell's head be able to spin around right after you pick Wild Wasteland. It's like a just as a throwback to that glitch in when it first came out.
I need Cast Capo to be a little bit more. Can I get some insight on what you're asking? Like, is it over as in when does life end, or the stream, or?
Whenever the fuck we run out of questions.
Well, we're hitting that
So
point.
in about 30 minutes.
No, I'm going to say about 5 to 10 more minutes is what we can get, because I think we've ran through most of the questions that we had on the list.
Ready?
Yeah.
Before we end it, though, we have to do something else.
1 second, we do have a question. We have, are you guys going to be releasing beta versions for people to try, or like small sections of the map, such as Good Springs, or anything like that?
We have no specific plans for any sort of bite-sized samples yet, and there's a reason for that. If we want to do, like, say, a sample bit of the world, let's say we want to do a release of just Good Springs and Prim. We need to sit down, and once we've gotten those areas polished 100%, while those are being worked on, other parts of the world space are also going to be worked on. So you have to keep in mind that we're going to have tons of other stuff going on in the world space. So it's likely that once we hit a point where we have a build where we're ready to say, okay, let's package this up for a tiny bite-sized release, we need to break off all of that into its own sort of branch of the game, and then start working on that independently while also working on developing everything else. So we have to split the team in two just to sort of keep that all together. And then once we do that, we have to provide support for it. So basically, we're splitting the team across 2 releases of the same thing, and we might end up fixing bugs in the main development branch that got through into the release branch. So then we need to go back and refix the same bugs and hopefully not break other stuff in the secondary branch.
Yeah. So before I guess we wrap this stream up, since it is getting a little bit late, is there anything that you wanted to put out, any sort of announcements or anything that you wanted to go before we go ahead and wrap up the stream?
That's your cue to roll it.
1 second. As I was saying,
This is where it gets kind of choppy.
1 second. Meta, did you have any announcements? Okay.
At the moment, we have no major announcements. The big thing for today was this was the first showcase of the service rifle, marksman rifle, and assault carbine. Full-size images of those will be going up across all of our various medias. And that's about it for today.
All right, so we'll go ahead and wrap this up. AJ, or Sky, if you want to go ahead and do your outro.
This has been the Plagues of the Roundtable. I want to thank you all for watching. Make sure you check out the description below for all my links, all their links, and anything else I decide to put down there. Thank you all for watching. Peace. Sky out.